I want to touch on the Denver Nuggets and just like the end of their season.
Speaking of the final rules.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'll say about this, I don't want to make it seem like the reason why they lost is because of Jokic, because it's definitely not. Like, Jokic played a great series. I will say this, though. Any other multi-MVP winner who had a game 6 when they were up 3-2 and lost by 40 and were dang near down by 50 for some point in the game, and then had a game 7 at home and lost a 20-point lead to lose that game, heavy criticism would have been falling on that player.
Yeah.
Who was the MVP. And I'm just saying, like, this is the same guy who is the only player in NBA history to win 2 MVP awards and get swept right afterwards.
Yeah.
So, I understand, like, yes, Jokic, he's an all-time great. Like, you have 3 MVPs, you got a Finals MVP in the championship, you're on that level. I have him in anywhere between, like, that top 20, top 15
he up there somewhere.
players of all time. But I gotta give you just the call out of, like, bro, you can't allow that to happen against a young team like that. Like, you're a veteran team. Y'all just came off the championship.
Right.
You got home court advantage. You lose by 40 in a game 6 and then lose a 20-point lead in game 7. Like, that just can't happen. Like, I just can't excuse that. Like, you have to get some smoke for that. But also, this team in Denver, I tried to ignore their depth issues all year because I thought it wouldn't have mattered. And that came back to bite them because in that game 7, Jamal Murray and Jokic was the only 2 players getting it done. Aaron Gordon was out there getting cardio. Aaron Gordon wasn't. Michael Porter Jr. wasn't doing much either. He wasn't hitting his threes. So, like, I do think they got to make a switch. Not only a switch as far as personnel, they need a mindset switch because I've always said players on a team either take on the personality of their best player or their coach. And the way Mike Malone was moving all offseason, you came in the offseason talking about we the Lakers daddy, we this and that, talking about how all these teams and players were talking about you, and then you lose and you come into the pressure and the reporter asks you a valid question and you're going to look in his face and say it's a stupid A-word question. Like, I don't want to hear this. And I think he was crying in the presser too. I can't remember. But, like, I don't want, like, nobody's going to feel bad for you.
You could tell people who've never been there before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, like, you were saying, like, you were the one who made a whole compilation video of people saying that this series was over 2 games into it, and it was like, yo, these people don't believe in you. Which is, I feel like, was smart because they helped motivate your team. But then you can't come back and get on a reporter talking about that's a stupid A-word question, this and that. Like, no, that's a valid question. You were up 20 points in the game 7 and lost it to a team who's younger than you, hasn't been there, don't even know what it takes to win, and whose best player wasn't even playing well in the process.
Right.
So, like, I just thought, like, everybody thought that Denver was going to go on this 2 to 3 championship run and Jokic was going to have this run. Mm-hmm. I personally never thought that because I thought the Western Conference was too deep for that. And I feel like it was still better teams in the Western Conference than they were, or in the future in general.
Yeah.
But I just think that, like, Jokic is not the problem. Jamal Murray is not the problem. I think if this team has to make a change, I think it's Michael Porter Jr. because he's making $40 million a year, and he's clearly not playing up to par with that. Now, the first series versus the Lakers, he couldn't miss.
Right.
Even the first 2 series, the first 2 games versus Minnesota. But, like, they have to find – I think they need one more consistent guy. It don't got to be a superstar. It don't got to be a star. But I think they need somebody who can give them something consistently, especially after losing Bruce Brown and Jeff Green. You lose some of your depth and you lose some reliable pieces. So I just think they need to get something like that back. But I definitely think that they flew under the radar as far as criticism. And I don't know what it is with Jokic, but it just seemed like he flies under the radar as far as criticism in general. Because I know certain guys like Bron, KD, Steph. I mean, I know those are some of the older guys, but even guys like Tatum, like, he gets flack for a series that happened 2 years ago.
Right.
Like, this dude, yes, I understand you came off a championship, so, like, we light on you. But if you have 3 MVPs, we're expecting long-standing greatness from there on out.
Yeah.
And so if you giving up a series versus a young team like that, like I just can't let you escape from that.
Right. Yeah. I think. Well, first I want to call out. I think, in general, us as NBA fans are almost. I can't think of a better word, but almost spoiled in terms of what we expect from our great teams now.
Mm-hmm.
Because for so long, we Golden State and Bron.
Right.
All the past 4 champions have not sniffed the NBA Finals
No,
since
right
they
after.
won.
No.
So when you take that perspective and you think Golden State went for what, 5 years in a row?
Yeah.
4 or 5 years in a row? That's crazy.
2015 and 2019.
And then when you look at Bron, who went 10 years in a row on 2 different franchises,
Yeah.
it's insane.
Right.
And I think we're seeing now. I think we're having a reality check now of it is hard to go to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, it's hard to go back to back in general.
Right. So I think I just wanted to call that out and say I think that's something weird. It's almost expected now. Y'all ain't go back to back.
Yeah.
Bro, no, because it's so hard to
Right.
get there. But I think that
that's true.
should hype up those teams that did do it.
Yeah.
Those Shaq and Kobe Lakers,
Yeah.
any of Bron's in the East teams,
Right.
Golden State, those dynasties, Jordan, all that. You have to hype those up
Right.
because it's so hard to do that.
Exactly.
But more to Denver specifically, I agree with you as far as getting some more depth, but I will say before they lost, I thought they had the best built starting 5 in the NBA.
Okay.
In terms of, to what you were saying earlier, roles.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in their starting 5 knew exactly what their job was and did not overlap with anybody else in the slightest.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon, no, he running, dunking, rebounding, back door. That's all you doing.
Yeah.
KCP, perimeter defense, and 3 balls.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you doing. Michael Porter Jr., we don't need a circle button. You only tap square. That's all you do. That's all you doing.
Yeah.
Jokic, you the main facilitator. You and Murray share facilitating responsibility, but you get in there, do your ballerina moves in the post.
Right.
Can't nobody stop it. Tipping it back to yourself, do that. And Jamal Murray, you're our closer.
Yeah.
In the games, we putting the ball in your hands. You go ISO and you score.
Yeah, facts.
And so I really liked how they were constructed, and I thought that's why they beat LA. But I agree with you on depth, which I think is going to be the biggest factor in the finals this year, because Boston's bench ain't really like that.
Right.
They got Peyton Pritchard,
Right.
Hoser. That's only dudes I can name off the bench. Al Horford, if he come off the bench,
Right. All of us going.
yeah, they really don't got no bench depth, but Dallas got their guys come off the bench, making an impact in the game. You look
Right.
at their box score, everyone outside of Kyrie and Luka and PJ Washington will have anywhere from 5 to 9 points.
Right.
You add all that up through the whole roster,
Right.
that plays a big factor.
Oh, huge rush.
So
Especially when BJ Washington give you 27.
right, yeah, when you got game, it's over.
Right.
You're not beating them like that.
Right.
But yeah, so I think I agree with you on Denver needing some more depth. In terms of, before you name a player, what in terms of play style do you think it is they need? Do you think they're set at the starting 5, cool, and we need to, what type of player do they need to bring in?
Okay, so as far as what type of player, I think they need, number one, I think they need a playmaker off the bench.
Backup point guard. I was thinking that. Yeah.
They need a playmaker off the bench because Reggie Jackson's a scorer. He's not out there to play make.
Yeah.
And then you got who else? Christian Braun. He's just one of those guys that plays hard defensively and that can hit an occasional corner 3 or something.
Right.
They need a playmaker off the bench because either that or you're gonna have to do what you did in Game 7 versus Jokic, which is run him through the ground all 48 minutes. And I don't think that can work either. And plus Murray to me is a scorer, especially in the playoffs. He's a playoff demon.
Yeah.
He's gonna score in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's funny because Denver kind of works backwards. Their facilitator is Jokic, and I feel like their scorer is Jamal Murray. But Jokic can be as much of a scorer as Murray can. But I think they need some kind of playmaking off the bench. And low key, I feel like Bruce Brown kind of provided that for them last year, and now that he's gone. But I think they need playmaking. And I also, as far as their starting lineup, and why I say that Michael Porter Jr. might be the odd man out, is because number one, he's too inconsistent. Because really, What pisses me off, and this is me personally, just as a LeBron fan, it seemed like every time he played the Lakers, he can't miss.
Bro,
like he just can't miss.
Frustrating thing.
He can't like in this series and in last series he couldn't miss. Then he gets to the finals, and then he couldn't make nothing. And then it gets the last couple games against Minnesota because he can't make nothing. So I guess he just likes playing LA. I don't know.
Lakers daddy.
Oh, right? Yeah, exactly. So I just think you need to find a player that does what Michael Porter is supposed to do, just more consistently. They really don't need a whole lot because, like you said, like you got your foundation, you got your guys. But to me, they're even if they don't make a trade for MPJ, they just need something off the bench. Like they need some kind of playmaking, they need some kind of scoring. Because Reggie Jackson and them guys not gonna give you that on a consistent level. Because you get to Game 7 where you need those guys and they can't provide that for you. So I just think most importantly, they need playmaking outside. Because, like, really, to be honest, whatever Michael Porter Jr. is getting is going to be off of Jokic and off of Murray. Like, them dudes really can't get it on their own. Same thing for Aaron Gordon. Like, you look at Dallas, like, they got Luka and Kyrie, but P.J. Washington can go get you a bucket.
Yep.
He can go get you a bucket. Same thing can be said for, like Boston. Like I said, like, KP and Drew Holiday, like they're former All-NBA players.
Yeah.
Like they both averaged 20 points per game just last year.
Yeah.
So even like the guys in Minnesota, like you got Cat, you got Ant-Man, but Mike Conley been one of the best point guards in the NBA or one of the most underrated players for a long time now. And then you got Nas Reed, 6th man of the year, coming off the bench.
Yeah.
So like you always have your 1-2 punch. But you always have another guy that can go get his.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go back to Golden State. Like, you got Clay, you got Steph, you had Jordan Poole, who honestly was at some point the second best player on that team during that run. So you always got to have that guy that can go out there and get it when you need it. And I just felt like they didn't have that this year.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that with guys in their conference like Ant, Kyrie, and Luka, they need a better defensive-minded guard? Jamal can't guard none of them.
Yeah, but they got KCP though.
They do got KCP, and he is a defensive guy.
They do got and I mean honestly, like I said, the last two games, Ant-Man in that series, Ant-Man didn't really play his best ball. Now I will agree, like I do think sometimes KCP, like his age and injuries, is starting to catch up to him. So I mean that can play a factor.
And they really don't got no rim protection.
No, they don't. They don't have rim protection. But I mean, to their credit, it's not really needed.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, like they always have those scrappy guards. Like I said, like Christian Braun, he's scrappy. Mm-hmm. I think he can play hard defensively. But I mean, it's hard to really find that in the NBA, especially if you're trying to get at a cheap price. Like guys, like a tough defensive guard, those guys are really highly valued.
Yeah.
Like I said, like Drew Holiday and Marcus Smart, one of those guys. Both of them guys got $100 million contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to find those guys in the NBA, really. But I think they have. I mean, they were in a Game 7.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like they were.
It
could have failed either or, but I think it's more favorable to them if they just have more playmaking outside of their two best players.
Yeah, I agree.
Than another defensive guy.
I agree.
So, but yeah, I mean, I just don't think like I when I say, and I forgot to address this, but like your first part of saying like, you know, how as NBA fans we're spoiled from the 2015 to 2019 run of like just Curry versus LeBron every single year, and we think it's easy for these other teams.
Yeah.
I don't look at as an indictment on those teams. If it's an indictment I have, it's more so on a player, because I'm growing up watching LeBron in a 2009 series versus Orlando. Like, he averaging 40 in that series, and people were saying that it was his fault, the reason why they lost. Like, nobody talked about Mo Williams shooting 29% from the field.
Right.
Nobody talked about these other players not doing their job. It was always, LeBron couldn't get his team over the hump.
Yeah.
And he's a superstar. He was the MVP. Right. So if we're giving every single superstar and every single MVP and we're grading them off of that same evaluation, then I have to look at Jokic and say, yo, you won a championship last year. That's cool. But you got 3 MVPs. I expect greatness forever.
Yeah.
So you going out the way you're going out, like, I can't excuse that.
Yeah.
So that's my only thing. I just wish it was. I just want the treatment to be fair.
Yeah.
I just want the treatment to be fair. And I feel like KD has benefited from a lot of that as well. Just like people not really Like they just give him passes.
Yeah, I think at this point though, the reason KD gets skated now is because everybody has kind of almost disregarded him because of the move to Golden State.
Yeah,
like they've almost put him in his own category. Like, yeah, he one of the best players of all time, but in terms of legacy, we not think about KD, which I'm not saying I necessarily agree with, but I think for him that's why he don't really get the hate anymore because they like he did that thing. He just ring chasing now or so. True. But I agree with you with Jokic. I think part of it might be because he's such a low key person.
True. Like
he's not on social media. He barely go to press conferences. Only thing we know about Jokic is he like horses.
He's like horses.
That's the only thing we know about him.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, to be fair, he don't really seem too interested in basketball anyway.
He don't. I thought one of the funniest things I've seen. I was seeing one of those edits, and it was when they were going into Game 7 against Minnesota.
Yeah. And
it was like all the comments, because it showed Jokic when he was just standing up, just looking at them playing.
Right, exactly, yeah.
All the comments was like, oh, they made this man care about basketball. like, I thought he was going to do something because of his edit. I was like, shoot, he might do something.
Right.
But, I mean, for a 3-time MVP, I agree. If there needs to be, he should be held accountable the way they've done everybody else.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're all-time great at this point.
Right.
So, like, you got to be held to a certain standard. And especially, like, when I feel like guys are being held to a higher standard that hadn't even achieved the same stuff he's achieved. So, I definitely think it should be more it should be more blame that should be pushed on him. But, I mean, I can't really – it's not too much I can fault a guy for playing all 48 minutes – in a Game 7, and they clearly didn't lose. Yeah, they didn't lose because of him.
Right, he literally did everything he could.
Right, but to be fair, I don't think the Cavs lost because of Bron.
Yeah.
So, but it's, I don't think it's certain situations where the best player played well and they just lost. But like we're still gonna always look at the best player and say he could have done more. It's unfair, but it's the world we live in.
And I think the other side of that also is if they win. Outside of a game-winning shot by somebody else, he is gonna get all the credit.
Right.
Like it is gonna be like. If Bron had won against Orlando, gone against Kobe, it would have been like Bron took him there.
Okay.
So I think I agree with you that it is unfair when someone literally does all he does and his team just didn't step up. But I do also think they do on the other side of it. They do give him the credit most of the time. I can't.